on what has changed and things that have changed that you cannot see, which is, for example, the platform is now running at the University of Zurich on the production servers. So it is now on the system where it will remain, and it is also accessible via a guest account, which I of course will share with you as well. As mentioned, we also have a IIIF server. So we downloaded all the original TIFFs from the Nationalbibliothek from Wikimedia and are hosting it through a IIIF server. So it's now also possible to look at them in a viewer and have the zoomable views. We also prepared a platform for internationalization, which basically means all the texts that appear, we don't write them in the platform itself, but we write them as a referensive. So we can also translate it into different languages. I think for multilingual Switzerland, it's quite important to have it, and to have it as a possibility to also have the research platform available in different languages. And we created forums exactly for allowing simple data input that creates this semantic model that we devised underneath. I switch over to the platform. This is how it looks currently. We just show on the start page a randomized selection of the different types of entities we have: images, places, persons, dossiers, concept. So this selection changes every day at random currently, and of course you could also influence it, but I think it also lends itself to kind of serendipitous discoveries. This is the object view. We have the things that are depicted, the persons associated, as well as kind of a more common field view. And we have the image viewer, which again also allows you to zoom in on details. Jumping back again, places, Greifensee, nice. So again, in the places, we have all the images that depict a certain place, links to external resources, in this case, GND, Wikidata, and as well as a map view of where this place is. And here you could either refer to Greifensee, the place, or Greifensee, the lake. Persons, again, we show the works that this person is associated with, typically as a creator. So this gives you a bit of an overview what someone has been working on, as well as all the fields. These are all the labels of the person. And the one I always like to explore are the concepts, because it just gives you a view of the different things that are in there. Militärgeistlicher, nice one. Let's try Wehrturm. So this just is an explorative view of the collection. Here you see why we did this image segmentation earlier. Here we want to be able to, of course, zoom in on the important aspects of the images and not include this calibration bar. So this is what we're still planning to incorporate. Now I skipped the dossiers, which is one level in the hierarchy. But this is also quite a useful one because we can now see, for example, here the voyage pittoresques and all the works that are contained in there. And we can also navigate upwards and see the other items that are contained in there. We also did some cleaning of the places. Maybe you remember last time we had the images of Switzerland all over the world, literally. We have them now a bit more contained in the areas where they are. So we actually do have some images which are not from Switzerland, for example, from Bethlehem, as well as this here, Tenerife. But most places are now where they should be. And I say most because there's still some cleaning up to do. These are just, places with similar names, which then end up somewhere else. But still, this is a quite nice view to explore the geographic breadth of the image of Switzerland. You can also, of course, navigate between the entities. So here I'm looking at this specific images of Helgoland. Maybe we have other Steilküsten in our collection. I have very much doubt it. But this is now the type view of Steilküste. We can also navigate, let's see, from places to works, to persons, and in this way explore these collections through these connections. Maybe one word about how we display the data here. So what you saw in the pipeline is that we converted the source data into this network data. And of course, for displaying it, we somehow flatten it again. You see it here, that we have the production event that took place at a certain time, but for display, we flatten it again to a production date. Up here, we wanted to still communicate these relations as well. So we display associated dates, and we say whether it is, for example, the production or the creation. And the same thing with person. So we add the associated persons, and we add the role and the event where it is linked to. So you still see kind of the linked data in how the data is displayed. There is also a search, just a generic search, but also the view that we already had last time for browsing the images and filtering, for example, by date, in this case, date of production or creation. And we also have a search. This is still quite limited, but this is also an area where we would be open to your requirements. What do you want to search for? It is based on relations. For example, I can say objects which are related to place, for example, which depict a place. So Greifensee. So this means we can make specific searches and again also filter, for example, by date. The last thing I wanted to show was data input. We already had some possibilities of data input last time, but we pretty much stuck to editing fields. And as Stephanie pointed out, we want to make structured argumentations, and we want to store this also in linked data. So what we do here is we make specific workflows for the type of data that we want to add. For example, we want to add data about production. I can select here the type of production, for example, the engraving, the person who was responsible for it. Just pick one and the type. This is how it looks now, but once we have our vocabulary of the different roles, we will also simplify this. So you can, for example, select the specific term that is mentioned in the caption, and then it will produce the correct entities for you. And this is just to ensure that the input stays usable. We can create very much detailed data, but this should not kind of be up to the user to know how to input this. So once I save it, you see I have here music ability at the first cover for production, and I have here the custom data that I added. I can also look at the raw data, and you see here this is the production, which consists of our sub-production of type gravure carried out by this person. And we have here the meta information, namely that this is a proposition that we made about this specific object, and it has been done by myself at a certain point in time. I think this is stored here. So in this way, we always have provenance on what we add versus what comes from the collections. Same thing about the picts. I guess I already have Landschaft somewhere in there. So if you see it depicts Landschaft, I know that this is something I added here on this date and time. And if I go on Landschaft, okay, I see too much now, but I will also see this new connection that I've made here. And what will be there very soon, I just show you kind of a work in progress, is of course also the ability to add information on regions of images. So we already have the IIIF viewer, which allows us to draw regions. Just go in there. So you want to annotate this clock here. So we'll consolidate this workflow, but it will work in the same way. I want to say something about the regions, and then I can specifically refer to this clock that I just draw, just as a preview of what's to come.